Hello, this is Mehmet Altay. In this presentation, I will be discussing whether EMI students perceive a challenging skill also as the determinant of their academic success. So, in the recent years, there's a growing interest in the challenges of EMI, and most of these challenges concentrate on skill-based ones. One of the earliest examples of skill-based challenges and studies towards skill-based challenges came from Evans and Morrison in 2011. And in their study, they have concluded writing to be the most challenging aspect of university study. A more recent study by Isa and Rose conducted in 2020 also reflected, also concluded that writing is relatively more challenging when compared to the other skills. And this is mostly because of the organization of the essay structures. On the other hand, speaking is relatively less challenging according to the conclusions, because students feel more confident and willing to speak. When the issue is listening, again, it is relatively less challenging compared to writing, because lecturers may simplify their language use, may fine-tune their language use according to students, as well as students can conduct pre-reading before coming to class. And finally, when the issue is reading, the main concern is students' insufficient vocabulary knowledge, and this predicts challenges in reading. Many other studies also conducted similar investigations, and in most of these studies, unfamiliar technical vocabulary posed important challenges. And some other common challenges concluded concern, spontaneous speech, hindering speaking, as well as, different lecturers' accents, posing challenges again. And finally, in terms of writing, academic style is a resource of challenge. In this current research, I wanted to look through a different angle to the challenges issue from, again, the language skills aspect. Each language skill comes with its idiosyncratic aspects and various degrees of challenges, for sure, whereas the level of challenge might not necessarily be an indicator of academic success. Some further skill-based factors can make better predictors of academic success in EMI, and I wanted to investigate what these skill-based factors might be. So I have two research questions for this current study. On the one hand, is the level of challenge posed by a language skill perceived also a determinant of academic success in EMI courses? On the other hand, what skill-based factor, if any, is regarded as the main predictor of academic success in EMI courses? And the context of my study is a university, an EMI university, a partial EMI university in northwestern Turkey. And in Turkey, their students undertake a preparatory year program for a year, which is very similar to pre-sessional programs. But more specifically, they are not EAP programs, they are mostly EFL programs. Alternatively, students can also prefer certifying their English proficiency with a validated test that can be TOEFL, IELTS, or a Turkish English test conducted in Turkish. Aside from the preparatory program, students also take a freshman class, an EAP freshman class, throughout 2 semesters. In my study, the participants are from Faculty of Engineering, and I had 303 participants in general, but 3 of these were the outliers, and I had to exclude them. Also, they are all the native speakers of Turkish and learned English as a foreign language. And I prefer the mixed methods research design in which I have quantitative data coming from EMI Challenges survey. This survey is first conducted by Evans and Morrison and also validated by Aizawa, including 45 items, 15 items for writing and all the other 10 items for speaking, reading, and listening. And a 6-point Likert scale was used from very easy 1 and to 6, very difficult. Some example questions are as given. For speaking and listening challenges. So students were expected to respond 1 very easy to 6, sorry, very difficult for these questions, how they perceive them. Following the questionnaire, students also, 10% of the students, making 30 EMI students, also agreed on participating in a semi-structured interview. And the following questions were directed for these participants. On the first interview question was as the following: is there a specific language skill which poses challenges, causing a drawback for your academic success in English medium EMI content courses? And the second interview question concerned what the main determinants of academic success in the EMI courses that is attributable to the 4 language skills. And for the analysis of data, quantitative data, I used our computing software, and my tests include non-parametric options because of the categorical variable of the questionnaire, including Fritzman-Noah, multiple regression analysis, and finally Spearman correlation analysis. And for the thematic analysis of the qualitative data, I used NVivo software for coding and also for correlating. And regarding the results, if you like, let's remember my first research question. I asked if the level of challenge posed by a language skill perceived is also a determinant of academic success in EMI courses. And to investigate this, first I wanted to compare the 4 language skills if they are perceived to have different levels of challenges directing to EMI. And reading appeared to be the most challenging skill as students perceive, according to questionnaire, and writing came next. Listening followed it, and the least challenging skill as for students' responses seem to be speaking. And here are the results and the predictions. As we see, the mean score of reading is 4.11, and closer to the difficult poll, while the least one is listening, closer to the least difficult, least challenging side. And the findings were also analyzed to see if the skill-based challenges predict academic success in EMI. And for this, I conducted multiple regression analysis. As seen in the coefficients of the multiple regression analysis, none of the skills predict academic success. I mean, the challenges confronted in these 4 language skills do not predict academic success in this case, in my study's case, unlike the other studies also available in literature. So my second research question was what skill-based factor, if any, is regarded as the main predictor of academic success in EMI courses? And for this, I had 2 interview questions. The first interview question investigated if there is a specific language skill which poses challenges, causing a drawback in success. And the students' responses were thematically categorized into 2 categories. On the one hand, language skills do not prohibit academic success, and the second theme is the supralinguistic skills required by the content. So let's specify what students' responses are like regarding skills themselves not prohibiting success. So generally speaking, most of the students agreed that skill-based challenges do not predict their academic success or do not influence that much. For example, student 7 states that her overall proficiency in 4 language skills do not have a significant role in her academic success. And student 4 also agrees on this. She says her classmates might be better in certain skills compared to her, but still her GPA is higher than most others. And again, student 11 states that it is neither a specific skill that matters nor how they deal with it. As for the second theme, which is supralinguistic skills required by the content, first of all, if you like, let's clarify what supralinguistic here means. It means complex language in which meaning is not directly available from lexical or grammatical information. And supralinguistic skills might refer to be able to operate or comprehend non-literal language, meaning from context, inference, and ambiguous sentences. So EMI, the language used in EMI setting requires supralinguistic skills, and students' responses refer to it. For example, the contents given to the students while preparing them for EMI classes during the preparatory year concerned special days, quizzes, etc., such very common and communicative functions, whereas the major area courses required far beyond this overall language skill. By the way, the same is true for freshman classes. In freshman classes in Turkey, unfortunately, it's nothing different from PYP class. And again, another student A, stated that the language that they are exposed to is more complex. You reckon that you know English, but in reality, in EMI classes, you can't put it into practice. And another student 18, also stated something very important. She says, I usually feel that I know the meaning of each word individually as well as the structure, but it doesn't make any sense when they all come together. So here is how the things are different in terms of the language and the skills in EMI setting in Turkey. And for the second interview question, it was, what is the main determinant of academic success in English medium courses that is attributable to the 4 language skills? So the consensus here is that the more a language is used or utilized, the better a determinant it is. So I want to summarize all the other students' comments with student 3's statement. Student 3 says that what makes a language skill determinant in our success is not how challenging it is, but how much we need it. All the other students agree on this idea as given. Sometimes some skills are never used or seldom do the students use, like speaking. For example, student 9 says, I don't even remember when the last time was I spoke in the classroom. So exposure and the frequency of exposure determines how determinant a skill is. And statistical data analysis also justify this argument. As we see, the frequency of reading and writing users are correlated to their being perceived as the determinants. So reading is perceived to be determinant in academic success because it is frequently used. The same is true for writing too. And when the issue is listening and speaking, they are not regarded to be determinant because they are less frequently used. This is what students perceive. And as for my discussions and conclusions, different skills have different levels of challenges as students perceive, but none of them prohibit EMI success. And the level of challenges posed by 4 language skills statistics fail to predict EMI success. Nonetheless, reading is relatively better at predicting success, and unlike in the previous studies. And regarding the final research question, Um, instead of the levels of challenge each language skill may have, supralinguistic skills that they bear might predict how hard, how challenging they are. The more frequently a language skill is used, the better a determinant it is. This fact can well be attributed to more exposure to supralinguistic requirements of EMI courses, such as technical vocabulary. And now that reading is I mean, it may bear more supralinguistic elements, and thus reading might be regarded as the most challenging skill. Thank you very much for listening to me. Have a nice day.